Good morning, everybody. I wasn't going to do videos. Got up very early. I got up at 3 and it's 7:30. But I finished. I'm going to post the teaching post tomorrow. It's ready to go, which is Colossians 1. And but I'd like to wait one day after I upload the videos, which I did also today on Colossians. And of course, I'm looking at the news. I almost was going to comment earlier, like in the middle of my prayer time. And it's interesting because that prayer time includes presidents, leaders, those in authority, to bless them with righteousness and to feed to them the bread of God. And that's a particular aspect of that prayer for nations and leaders. I just commented on John Brennan's Twitter thing, because he came out with a tweet basically saying the president's a disgraceful human being and all these types of things, and history will show. Now, as an observer of news, even Brennan himself, many of the people that are involved in all this going on, there were times where these people openly lied to Congress, had perjured themselves. Legal scholars said it. And the only reason that they got away with those crimes was because of particular connections. If you read some of the Samantha Power, former UN ambassador, I believe she could be indicted for a threat made on her Twitter feed. If you look at it, she tweeted something out like, "Now we're going after you," or "Brennan's going after." These are almost can be considered threats to Trump. Now let me talk personally why Mr. Mueller should apologize to every first responder in this country. You know, I got up many days and went to duty, went to work. But I'll be honest with you, that whole anthrax debacle, it took away, we at our Kingsville Fire Department had a ton of time that was wasted on false anthrax runs. Meaning, people were scared, they thought they saw anthrax. So for many years, first responders would rightfully say, with all the money that you're getting, in the FBI and CIA, who are the ones that look at those types of incidents, solve the damn thing. And there was one primary reason why first responders continued for many years using resources for something that was wasted in all these fake anthrax runs. It was because of the gross incompetence of Mr. Mueller. And remember this, for all those years, Mueller falsely targeted Stephen Hatfield, meaning Mueller did not solve that anthrax case because of gross incompetence, which if you were a captain or whatever and you bungled something like that, that's it, your career's done. So the bungling of that by Mr. Mueller, and all those years Stephen Hatfield said, "You got the wrong guy." And I remember they even drained, Mueller and his team of investigators drained some lake, thinking maybe Hatfield. They cooked up in their mind, where did he hide the particular stuff he used to make all this anthrax? And Hatfield insisted, a scientist, said, "I had nothing to do with it." He spoke the truth and Mueller did not. And I believe the man that finally, he committed suicide, I believe his name was Bruce Ivins. Because after all those years of money and time and efforts wasted, and I'll remind you, Mr. Mueller and all of you, the fact that you were incompetent in that took away from first responders, because if you had that solved when you should have, and in law enforcement, one of the things they try to teach investigators is don't be single-minded. Be open to all facts, whether it's the famous cases of John Benet Ramsey, all those things. When you have somebody that's unable to look at everything. Now, when I saw that tweet from Mr. Brennan, I just commented on his Twitter feed. I understand that he got away with perjury as well as some of these other people. And they accomplished a lot of these things. Many things that took place with the former people of the Obama administration. Samantha Power, these types of things, the unmasking, I think it was, which was all illegal stuff what they did. And they deemed their illegality or incompetence something that's notable, and because they felt, yeah, but our political points of view are correct, therefore we are shielded from investigations. But yet you deem, whether it's a Paul Manafort, whoever, you deem your particular, what about Austin, Texas, where I live? And we have family living in Austin. The news today is another bombing went off in Austin by a tripwire, I believe a bicyclist on a tripwire. What has that got to do with all this, John? Every agency, police, firefighters, and I'm sure FBI and the boots on the ground, every one of them, when you do bargaining and all, they always request more funds to accomplish the job. More firefighters. I never remember a negotiation where we said, we got enough firefighters. More can always do more. And I bet all the money, time, and efforts wasted by the Muller thing, someone who I just explained personally caused a lot of havoc for a lot of first responders because of incompetence. Because if you had that solved earlier on, all that time and effort, and how many first responders possibly were injured just going to a false anthrax run, because sometimes emergency units get in wrecks because of incompetence. You should simply not even have a job in that field anymore. Now, if you took all that money and all those FBI agents, and I know their response would be, well, we can do more things, more than one thing at a time. I don't know. Can you? If all that money and all those investigators and the whole Mueller posse were then brought to Austin, Texas last week after the initial, this is bombing number 4, you'd have it solved. You say, no, we wouldn't. Your own FBI people, I guarantee you, would say we need more boots on the ground. Your own FBI people and the guys that are working on the ground, the rank and file, those are the good guys. It's the corruption with these leaders. That's the problem. So I would just say, if you simply took that money and that resource, now we got another bombing in Austin, and you put all those guys in there a week ago, it would be solved. And I don't know of any FBI person that would say, no, we don't need more money. We don't need more agents. I think they have 30-something thousand maybe. Is it Quantico, Virginia? That's not a lot. That's not a lot. I forget the number of how many we have. But they're the ones, along with the CIA, when you have something like this that could be considered a terrorist thing, they're the ones that look into that with local officials. And I'm sure you got Texas Rangers and everybody else. But I guarantee you, you would be able to save life if you focused, if you were competent. I read that John Brennan tweet, and he said to Trump, you will go down in the dustbin of history from Walter Purdue, all this stuff. And even in national news, it showed Brennan and some of these other people committing perjury. I forget if it was Brennan who said, Clapper, the same types of guys, when they lied before, on media we saw that. Legal scholars said they should be held accountable, and they escaped it. What Samantha Power did, the unmasking, basically releasing the particular information, and then I think the estimate was like 1 a day of the people that were being unmasked by her. All of those things shows you an abuse of power. And so I have the right to ask you, Mr. Mueller, to step down because your incompetence caused first responders like me and like a lot of others to waste years to respond simply because you were wrong. And the man that you were targeting was speaking truth. His name was Stephen Hatfield, a scientist. And he said, you got the wrong guy. And it was more than likely Bruce Ivins, who committed suicide maybe a year or so ago, I forget now. Because then they said, we're going to start looking at Ivins. And some question whether it was Ivins, and how did that case really get resolved? It really never got fully resolved. So one of the worst terrorist types of incidents in this country, the chief prosecutor who bungled the whole thing, never brought to resolution, he's the same man that some that are looking at everything, I'm not a big Trump supporter, but as I look at everything, I say, here we go again. You're unable to, this thing that you're doing with the Facebook targeting of Zuckerberg, that's disgraceful. Look, Mark Zuckerberg's a liberal, okay? But what you have shown to a lot of people, you've misrepresented the way data collection works and all this. And now you got all this sort of like the public thinking that Trump, and he used this analytics firm connected to Brennan. They were using a process data like you use when you do a normal, that's why they do social media. What do these people like? For advertisement type, which is really legal. So, we'll do that one. This will be number one for today.